Imagine an ancient ship sailing the high seas. It's made of wood, rope, sails, and steel fittings, all working together to glide across the waves. Over time, pieces of that ship begin to wear down. The crew replaces a plank here, a mast there. Eventually, every single piece of that ship is replaced with new materials. And here comes the big question. Is it still the same ship? This is the famous Ship of Theseus paradox. It has fascinated philosophers for thousands of years, and today we'll explore not just what it means for ships, but what it means for us. If all the parts of you change over time, are you still you? The Ship of Theseus story comes from ancient Greek philosophy. It goes something like this. Theseus, a mythical hero, had a great ship that was preserved for many years. As the ship aged, its parts began to rot, and they were gradually replaced. One by one, every plank, every nail, every sail was swapped out for a newer, stronger replacement. After many years, none of the original parts remained. And yet, there it was, Theseus's ship. But was it truly his ship? Or was it something else entirely? This paradox taps into something deeply personal, identity. What makes something or someone the same across time? Is it the materials, the memories, the purpose? And more importantly, how does this apply to us as human beings? Because after all, aren't we also changing constantly? Let's think about what it means for the ship itself. Imagine standing on the deck of this restored ship. You can feel the breeze, hear the sails flap, and smell the salty sea air. Everything about it feels real. It even has the same name carved on the side. But none of the original parts remain. The question arises, is it still the same ship that Theseus once sailed on? Is it the physical materials that give the ship its identity? Or is it something else? Perhaps the continuity of its existence. To make this even more interesting, imagine we kept every original piece that was replaced. All the worn-out planks, rusty nails, and old ropes are piled in a warehouse. What if we reassembled them? We'd have the old original pieces put together into the same shape. A kind of reborn ship. Now we have a strange situation. Two ships. One is made of all new materials, and one is reconstructed from the original aged parts. Which one is Theseus's true ship? Now let's leave the sea and come back to something a bit closer to home. You. Think about who you were 10 years ago. What were you like? What did you enjoy? Who were your friends? Now compare that to who you are today. Chances are you've changed a lot. You've learned, you've grown, you've shed old habits and built new ones. In fact, science tells us that almost every cell in your body is replaced over the course of 7 to 10 years. Physically, you're almost an entirely new person than you were a decade ago, and yet you still identify as you. What is it that makes you, you? One way philosophers approach this question is through the concept of continuity. Imagine your identity as a rope. Each individual thread represents a piece of you, your memories, your values, your experiences. Over time, some of those threads fray and are replaced by new ones. But the rope itself continues, connecting who you were with who you are now. Your identity isn't tied to the specific atoms that make up your body, but to the continuous experience of being you, your memories, your personality, your choices. There's another way to think about this, through the story you tell yourself. Psychologists often describe identity as a narrative, a story we tell about ourselves. This narrative isn't static, it changes as we grow. When you think back to a difficult moment in your life, how you interpret that moment now might be very different from how you interpreted it then. The events are the same, but your perspective has changed, and so has your story. We are constantly rewriting our narrative, deciding which parts of our past are important and what meaning to assign to them. So maybe, just like the Ship of Theseus, you are continuously rebuilt, but always part of the same ongoing story. The debate over the Ship of Theseus also brings up an important philosophical discussion. Essence versus form. Is it the form of the ship, its shape, its appearance, that makes it Theseus's ship? Or is it something deeper, its essence, the intention behind its construction, its history, and its use over time? For humans, it's similar. Your form, your body, your appearance, changes over time. But there's something deeper, call it your essence, your soul, or your unique consciousness that stays with you. It's that part of you that feels consistent, even as your life changes dramatically. Let's take this a step further. What happens when we think about artificial beings, like robots or artificial intelligence? Imagine an AI whose parts are continuously upgraded, its hardware replaced, its software updated. Is it still the same AI that it was when it was first switched on? The Ship of Theseus challenges not just our understanding of human identity, but also what it means to have a persistent self. Can an AI form an identity? If every part of it changes over time but it retains continuity of experience, does it have an essence? These are questions we're only beginning to grapple with as technology advances. The Ship of Theseus is more than just a thought experiment. It's a reminder of the inevitability of change and transformation. Sometimes we cling to the past because it feels like letting go would mean losing ourselves. But change is not the enemy. It's how we grow, how we evolve, how we become better versions of ourselves. The truth is, just like Theseus's ship, we're constantly being rebuilt. Our experiences, our relationships, our choices, all adding layers to who we are. And maybe the beauty of it all is that we are both the ship we once were and the ship we're becoming. Both versions are real, both are meaningful, and both are us. So are you still you if you change over time? The answer might depend on how you define identity. If identity is about continuity, about the connections between past, present, and future, then yes, you are still you, even if everything changes. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago, and that's a good thing. Change means growth, and growth means you're alive, learning, and becoming something new every single day. So, the next time you find yourself wondering if you're still the same person after all you've been through, remember the Ship of Theseus. It might have different planks, sails, and ropes, but it's still a vessel with a story, a purpose, and a journey. And so are you. If you enjoyed unraveling the paradox of the Ship of Theseus, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join us at Quest IQ. We dive into the most fascinating questions about identity, change, and what it really means to be human. Remember, life is a journey, and you are both the ship and the sailor. Embrace change and never stop exploring the open waters of your own potential.